Hello, everyone. Want to welcome you here to COVID Can't Cancel Love, the virtual summit that we are so excited to share. Um, if you would, I just want to briefly mention the different segments that we've had thus far. We've had Dead End Disagreements, which was a phenomenal segment. And we've had Date Night Ain't Dead, the home edition segment. And tonight is all about overcoming financial fights. And if you don't know, I am Natasha Oates. I am an award-winning relationship therapist and speaker. And I have the honor of being here with the Lionel Shipman of Shipman Consulting. Thank you for being here, Lionel. And let me make sure I unmute you so the good people can hear.
Okay.
Thank you again
Hello.
for being here.
Yeah. Hello, Natasha. Hello, everyone. Good to be here tonight.
So before we get into this wonderful topic, this much needed topic, will you let folks know about what it is that you do and just different things that's coming up that they want to be abreast of?
Okay. Again, my name is Lionel Shipman. I am a financial empowerment consultant, helping people improve their financial outlooks. I also look to empower people to manage their finances a whole lot better and to become more responsible with your finances. I've been in the banking and the finance field for over 20 years. For the last 3 or 4 years, I am the host of the Lionel Shipman Shape Your Finances show on the CWR Talk Network, which can be heard every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's in the Blog Talk format, so you can reach out to me. My website is shipmanconsulting.com, and you can click on the banner for the radio show to always be able to listen to the show. I'm so proud to say that not only do with the financial radio show, is it live every week, we also have all of my shows on demand on various platforms. So now I can be heard on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So very excited about that. Yeah. So I'm the author. Go ahead.
It's a great way for folks to get even more nuggets beyond tonight, making sure you guys plug into the Lionel Shipman Shape Your Finances show. So thank you for that. And you mentioned it, they can connect with you, shipmanconsulting.com.
Yes, shipmanconsulting.com. That's my website. And of course, I'm on all social media. I put like this, if you Google Lionel Shipman, you can catch me everywhere. That's probably the best way to reach me.
Okay. And you guys, he is also an author. So we're going to make sure at the end of this segment that you can know about his books that you should purchase right away, as well as other ways that you can connect with him. Because in this season, we want to be really serious about our finances. So thank you again for being here, Lionel.
Thank you. Good to be here, Natasha.
Okay, so we've got couples listening. And what would you say to the couple that says, well, why is it so important that we need to sit down and really have, in-depth conversations about finances? Because maybe the belief is things will just work themselves out, right? Things will just unfold how they need to. Our love will get us through any mountaintop, any valley low.
Yes, I've heard that plenty of times.
What do you say to the real meaning of why it's so important to sit down and discuss financial issues?
Okay, well, again, it's so funny you would say that. When we get married and I think about the Disney fairy tale, and you live happily ever after. Yeah. You can live happily ever after, but there are some issues or some things that's going to come up in a marriage, especially if you haven't discussed them on the front end. So why is finances, why they are important? Simply because it is it helps us determine our quality of life that we want. You know, if you want a two-bedroom home or a two-bedroom apartment versus a three-bedroom house with a garage, if you want to wear nice designer clothes versus clothes that are standard fabric, or if you're looking to be able to send your kids to college debt-free versus having to acquire student loans.
Yeah.
So finances are very important in a relationship, in a marriage. And it also helps determine whether or not couples are going to be responsible or irresponsible,
Mhm.
carefree or careless.
Mhm.
Also, and to me, this is probably the most important reason why finances I would consider to be one of the pillars of a marital relationship. You have family, you have finances, you have lifestyle, and you have sex and intimacy.
Mhm.
So finances is one of those very important things. And when you look at statistically, over, I think it's between 50 to 60% of marriages that end in divorce, they end in divorce primarily because of financial fights or financial disagreements.
Wow.
So, in a nutshell, finances are very, very important, and it's important that couples are on the same page with their finances and begin to work together so they can create a future for themselves and be able to pass it down even to children if they desire to have children into the next
Yeah.
generation. So, very
That
important.
that last stat got me. Did you guys,
It,
did
it,
you all listening out there, did you hear that stat? Around 50 to 60% of
50%.
folks who divorce is due
Yeah,
to financial disagreements of some sort.
right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's alarming, and it's one of those things that are kind of hidden. I think we had talked before when you talk about finances with couples. Sometimes you get too personal. We don't need to talk about that. Well, it's very important because it is a lot of time it's our lifeline to the quality of life we want. And if we're not taking care of the quality of life we want, if we're not doing the things to make that quality of life come to pass, then there's trouble because one side is saying this and another side is saying this, and it's just a matter of time before that conflict happens and it comes button heads. So hopefully tonight we will clear up and give you a lot of useful information. So
Yes.
you can, yeah, and even if you fight, even if you get into an argument, you'll be able to resolve it. So that's
Now,
what we hope.
I'm going to just say this tidbit. If you are watching and you did not see the segments on how overcoming dead end disagreements, you need to start at the beginning first and then work your way here.
Yeah.
Because we have to know how it is we can talk to our spouse, how we can
Right.
talk to our significant other, even when things tension is high,
Right.
when money is low. We have to be able to really communicate well. So please
Yeah.
make sure if you're catching a replay on this, make sure you view dead end disagreements. It's going to give you a number of gems. But let's talk about going right into this financial subject. Before the
Yeah.
pandemic happened, what seemed to be the biggest challenges for the couples that you've worked with in terms of just having these discussions around finances?
Ah, challenges. Just thinking right offhand, even before the pandemic happened,
Mm-hmm.
communication is probably the biggest challenge for couples. Being able to, I call it being able to effectively and productively communicate.
Yeah.
It's totally different than, you may have heard the term speaking to each other versus speaking with each other. A lot of times we're speaking to each other, and that comes off very aggressive as opposed to speaking with each other. So communication is one of those things that's very important, and I like to expand on that when I say effective communication. I did a workshop, I think about a year and a half ago, and when I say communication, I'm stating not only talking and discussing, but coming to some form of an agreeable action going forward.
Yes.
If you don't have any type of agreeable action, what's the what benefit is it to even talk or discuss anything? So when or where there's a lack of communication, or if there's very little communication, there's very little trust, which is a key thing.
That's
Most
good.
people think that trust doesn't just automatically happen. It comes through communication. Now we have our nonverbal communication, but we have our verbal communication. And when it comes to finances, it's a good mixture of both. But it's very important that we talk things out, get on the same page, because the problems are going to surface because we are two different people trying to mesh together as one. And a lot of times, if you didn't start off on the right footing, meaning having maybe premarital counseling or having someone to talk with about their finances on the front end, if you didn't have that conversation and then now you're married and you wonder why you're bumping heads and you're disagreeing and you're fighting, it's simply because you have not sat down and actually had a great, open, honest conversation about your viewpoints of money, your understanding of money, your history with money. Now, my book goes, and I hate to do a little plug there, but my book, one of the books that I wrote, Sacred Vows, talks about, it actually outlines a lot of different questions that we should be asking ourselves, especially those that are in a relationship, looking to be married one day, to address certain questions regarding our finances, just so we can get on the same page, so we can understand why we spend, why we're so conservative, why we in debt, why do we have bad credit. You learn to discuss these things and put them out on the table. And once we begin to communicate and put together a plan, we agree upon what action we're going to take, that resolves a whole lot of fights and arguments right there. Absolutely. Once we get on the same page.
Now, as you were saying that, talking about sharing why it is that we're in debt and sharing these various things, I just felt everyone cringe, like, ugh. Being that open and that honest, usually, we will run to hide and conceal those things that maybe we're not proud of, or those things that are unresolved within us. But marriage is being honest, being open, being revealing. And I love something you said, because I've been jotting down some notes. You mentioned little communication impedes trust. And little communication can also mean secrets. Maybe when you were dating, you didn't share that you had these balances floating around and, all of these different things going on. And maybe it's really difficult to talk about. So even pre-pandemic, I can see how that can be a huge, huge issue with couples.
Yeah. Well, check this out. When you mentioned that, I read an article a few years ago that stated that it's like 20 to 30% of couples actually hide accounts from their spouses. And when you do that,
toes, Lionel.
Yeah. Well, when you do that, now I'm not really almost step on somebody's toes now. When we hide things from my spouse, when I can get a credit card account in my name only, I do my own spending, and I never tell my wife about it, I'm committing infidelity, financial infidelity.
Ooh.
Because I look at it, if you can open the door or keep a secret in one place, it can lead to keeping secrets in other places as well.
Yeah.
So my thing is, be open, be transparent. Be open, be transparent. Even if you don't have all the answers, none of us have all of the answers. I'm a finance guy. I've been in finance over 20 years. My wife is a nurse. There are some things that I have learned from my wife. So I've had to make myself open and say, honey, thank you so much for that. I didn't realize that. So be open, be clear, be transparent, because when you look at the relationship, it's both of you meshed together. Yeah. It's not you looking bad versus the other person looking bad. Because if one person looking bad, you both are looking bad because that's the marriage. So the way to do that is come clean. If you don't understand something, learn it and learn it together. Uh, uh, and
The-
take time to teach each other when you don't know.
Yes. Now, I love that. I love that. That's coming from a place of understanding, of we are a team, of if there's one person who is more financially educated than the other, I'm willing to teach you. That's really the positioning that you're coming from. But I have to piggyback on some things that you have said, sir.
Okay.
You, because this is good.
Okay.
I know oftentimes in some communities, and I'm just going to call it out in love, I would say even in the African American community, sometimes we get taught, well, you know, you better have an extra secret account just in case he,
Now you
just
stepping on
in
toes.
case she.
Yes.
So what I love you're really saying is if you still feel compelled to be in secret about things, there's a level of trust that needs to grow there, or there's something within you that you really need to pinpoint and deal with, because leaving a door of any kind open to the demise of your relationship is
Right.
not helpful.
No, it's not. It really is not. And I kind of want to point out something too, real quickly. It's very important, uh, along with communicating, you must have defined roles. A
Mm,
lot of time we do not have defined roles in our relationship, and especially when it comes to money. And when I say roles and responsibility, for example, me and my wife, we've been married coming up on 21 years now. I would say successfully and happily married for 21 years.
that matters.
And oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. So we have different roles. I am the investment person of the family. So I make sure that our investment account, retirement accounts are established, that it's growing. But just because that's my role and responsibility, it is my role and responsibility to share that with her so she will know what's going on.
Yeah.
Vice versa. She writes the checks. I mean, she takes care of paying our bills every month and making sure that our budget is in line. It's my job to check the statements to make sure that the statements are correct. So
Mm,
we have different roles and responsibilities. And then we come together at least once or twice a month, what I call a powwow. A
yes.
powwow meeting is not a bad thing. It's just coming together to see how much money we spent, where we were, where we are right now, and where we plan to be in the future. So,
Yeah.
and that's something that a lot of couples don't do. And I
Right.
encourage you have to establish those roles and responsibility because it makes the process of the house and of your marriage, of your relationship go a whole lot smoother.
Yes. And then there's not this resentment of expectations that you guys have not clearly defined and clearly put out there. And
Right.
beyond just the roles, I love that you said, regardless of your role, you come together, you share where you are so that both of you know what's happening. I have to be honest, I've heard of um, folks getting foreclosed on and had no idea that they were in that predicament because both parties were not talking, were not sharing. This is where we are. This is what's happening. It's far too common that both parties aren't aware of where they really are financially, and that can be really scary.
Yes, yes, it can. I recall a story when I was in the banking world. I had a older couple. The husband uh, passed away, and the wife came in to, look at the accounts that they had. She had no clue where to begin. Her husband handled everything. So
Yes.
when he passed on, she didn't know anything. So we had to actually help her in finding the accounts, reconciling the accounts, and things like that. So just instances like that, that it's important that we are both people are on the same page, that you understand what's going on, and you're married.
Yeah.
That's your mate. When I look at my wife is there until one of us, to death do us part.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be open to share everything, including my finances, because my finances are hers. You know, my debts are her debts, which we don't have too much debt, thank God. But we share all of those things, and that's why it's so important to lay these things out on the table. It's almost like I'm glad we're married here, so I can make this comment here. It's almost like when you stand before your spouse, you can take all of your clothes off,
Mm-hmm.
be transparent. This
Yeah.
is who I am. This is who you married. I want you to know everything about me regarding my finances.
Yeah.
I'm irresponsible. I've had bad credit history. Talk it out because you can get better with it. That's what a lot of people miss. You can improve your financial life. That's why I'm here. I want to help you improve your financial life because it's possible. You can improve your financial life.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, I will say oftentimes, we tend to make money decisions out
Yes.
of emotions. So being honest about, I was going through a bad time in my life at that period, and this is what happened. I was just thinking to myself, what advice would you give someone who carries a lot of shame? Because we're saying be honest, be transparent, but it can be difficult to admit to mistakes in the past, to admit to not even knowing what to do at this point to make it better. What comes to mind for you for someone who feels in that space?
Okay. One thing that I've learned, even from my wife and I, is to provide, we should be a place of security and
Yeah.
safety. If my wife feels safe and secure with me, she has no problem in telling me any issues that she may be faced with, or any concerns, or any mistakes that she's made, or misunderstanding. She has a safe place with me. I'm
Mhm.
not going to judge her for it. I'm going to listen because me, I've had some mistakes in my life. I've had some things that I shouldn't have said or shouldn't have done, even financially in my life. So
Mhm.
I think it's important that we become a place of safety and a place of security. So when those things come up, when we do make a mistake, when we do make the wrong decision or have the wrong outcome because of our financial choices or decisions, we have a place where we can come and say, hey, made a mistake, or I'm not that knowledgeable in that. I
Mhm.
didn't realize that having bad credit was so bad. You have a safe place. So that's one thing that I encourage couples, husband, wife, be a place of safety
Mhm.
and a place of security for your spouse.
That's
Then
good.
it makes it much easier to talk about any issues or concern that you may have.
It's so interesting. I know we're talking about money, but I'm hearing all these themes around being vulnerable, creating a safe space, feeling secure, trust. So if you're having or getting stuck with financial arguments, it could be possible that it's beyond just the finances. Maybe it's also about, oh, we need to work on our trust. We need to work on, do I feel secure enough with you? We need to work
Right.
on, do we trust each other enough to be vulnerable and honest about many different things? So this is a possible indicator that it's also time for you to not only work on financial discussions and finances, but your relationship as a whole. So I want to encourage every couple out there that is resonating with this to move forward, to connect with help.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree totally.
Yeah, so let's kind of come to present day. Present day, we are in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. So already it could be difficult talking about finances in general, but what challenges, what new unique challenges are couples facing now?
Uh, well, I would say Emotionally, with everything that's going on, couples are just being faced with just having some internal concerns, uh, very emotional,
Mm-hmm.
fearful, uncertain, anxiety, all those things come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing that I would press upon with all couples, even though these concerns are valid, because this is unprecedented where we are right now. I mean, in our lifetime, yeah, we had the 2008 economic crisis, but
Mm-hmm.
it was not a global pandemic. And now it's affecting the markets, it's affecting jobs. Unfortunately, some people have lost their jobs, their businesses have slowed or either just completely stopped. So we have all these concerns, all these things that are going on, and you're wondering how we're going to make ends meet, how we're going to make it through this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
If we do make it through, am I going to get my job back? You know, so all these things are coming through our minds. So this is something that I've learned to do when these things happen. So here's something to do right offhand. Pause, step back, and assess.
Mm-hmm.
If you're waking up every morning and you have food on your table, you have shelter, you have clothing on your back, you're all healthy in your home, that's number one, you're blessed already.
Yes.
Yes. Then begin to see where you are financially. You know, this is the perfect time where a lot of us are at home now. So we can sit down and assess our financial outlook right now. Sit down and see how much money that you do have. Sit down and see what bills that are coming in and what needs to be paid versus what can wait. Because
Mm-hmm.
I did a Facebook posting about 2 weeks ago, and a lot of the mortgage companies, car financing companies, even down to utility companies, are giving some form of reprieve to consumers because of this that's happening. So,
Yes.
so there are some answers or some resolution or some solutions out there that will kind of help relieve the tension, the stress, the anxiety, or the concerns. And lastly, make sure that your spouse knows you have their back.
That's powerful.
Make sure you have your back. I mean, to the point to where, you know, I think about there's a commercial where I showed this guy on a platform and everybody's cheering him on. And he's supposed to fall back into everyone's arms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I encourage you, I challenge all of you that are listening.
Wow.
Stand like that with your wife and with your husband
Mm-hmm.
and turn your back. And can you actually fall back into the arms of your spouse?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where we are right now with this pandemic, with everything that's going on. We got to make sure that we got somebody that I can fall back, because there are going to be some days when I'm going to need my wife to catch me because it's overwhelming sometimes. So just make sure that your spouse knows that you have their back. We're in it together. We're going to make it through. Praying, which I was going to say that to the very end, but that is, you got to have a great faith support
Mm-hmm.
through these times.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer that God can bring us through anything, and
Mm-hmm.
especially with our marriages. So we have some things practical that we have to do, or we have some things spiritual that we have to do. There are some things that we emotionally have to do. I mean, when we have cried, we have to say, okay, I can keep shedding tears, but I got to move forward. I got to keep pressing forward. So,
Yes. This is
yeah.
good. This is so good. I'm just going to recap some of what you've been saying. You said the first thing we need to do is pause.
Yes.
Because what happens when in the heat of the moment, out of anxiety, out of frustration, we just move quickly and swiftly without thinking. So I love that. Pause, take a breath, take a step back and assess all of what's happening. And I love in the example of assess, you really pointed out the positives that were still happening. Maybe there's still food on the table. You are still in your home. There are these positives that we can overlook and just be all the way in the future. And it hasn't even happened yet. So I love that. And then you mentioned have each other's back. Could you lean all the way back and let your partner catch you? Do you trust them to that extent? And friction, low moments like this can be a time where you're pulled either to turn on each other, or
Yes.
you're going to make the choice to turn with each other. So I love when you said, have each other's back.
Yes.
Very powerful.
Regardless, right? Regardless of what comes or what goes, have each other's back.
Have each other's
Have
back.
each other's back.
And then you mentioned that practicality of a lot of companies are already pushing back bills for a month or 3 months,
Right.
doing various things. But if you keep your head in the sand because of all of the stress, if you don't make those phone calls to let people know
Right.
what's going on, what can we do? What are they willing to, push
Right.
back? What payment plans are they willing to accept? You would miss it.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I would encourage if you hadn't connected with me on Facebook, you can go back and look at those 2 videos that I did back to back that kind of addresses some of those things, as well as some other financial tips to help during this pandemic right now. So, but yes, very important to keep your head above water, keep information fresh that you can do practically, and so it can kind of relieve some of the stress, tension, concerns, and keep our emotions in check. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's just jump right into the basics.
Okay.
What should every couple be doing or be discussing right now in terms of their finances?
Well, I would say you should be looking at or discussing your finances. And when I say finances, of course, that's general. So let's get more specific. Budget, spending plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a budget or spending plan, you need to be reviewing that right now, line item by line item, seeing what needs to be cut, what needs to be limited. I know a lot of times before all this happened, when we were working and when everything was great, we had a lot of discretionary spending, meaning entertainment, going out to eat, going to the movies, things like that. Well, now's the time to cut back and limit some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I would looking at your budget, what needs to be changed, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be cut. I would also limit overall spending. If you don't need it, don't buy it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Assess whether it's a need versus a want. So at this point, limit your wants right now. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part now, everything is closed for the most part anyway. I mean, you can't go to the movies right now. You can't go to the, entertainment venues because a lot of it's closed right now. So
Mm-hmm.
here's a great time to say, you know what? It's time to keep and increase my cash reserve. So that built up that savings account. If you don't have an emergency fund, what a great time now to establish an emergency fund. Have an account put to the side in the future to be used only for emergency reasons. So those are just some practical things that I think that right now will be a good time for us to do.
Yeah.
Assess your insurance policy. Just think of right off the hand. Your
Yeah.
car insurance and homeowners insurance policies might be a great time to go shopping now, to see
Mm-hmm.
if you can get better terms, reduce premiums, but better benefits from it. So those are just some things right offhand that we could do during this time that will help you overall in your finances.
Thank you for that. As you were saying, we need to cut down some things. We need to limit some spending. I kind of cringe. Oh no, don't restrict me. Oh no. So what I love to do is just reframe it and really look at priorities versus wants.
No, that's true. No, I
We are
agree.
gonna
I agree.
pump money into our priorities and
Yeah.
do less into our wants.
Well, you know what too, and I think about too because I love going to the movies. I love big screen and big sound, and yes, it costs a little bit more money to do that. Well, right now, a lot of the movies that were going to be in the movie theaters, they're actually bringing them to on demand at home. So
Mm,
where you would have spent, you know, how the price of movies now about 12, 15 bucks a piece,
Right.
just for the two of you. But if you took your family, your whole family, say on average, a family of four, you were spending about 50, 60 bucks to see a movie.
Mhm.
Well, you can do that now at home much cheaper. You don't have to wait in the line for the bathroom. You go and your own popcorn. So there are things that you can do, creative things you can do.
Mhm.
And you know, if you have a surround sound, turn the surround sound. It sounds just as good in your home as it did in the movie theater. So let's be creative. Now that's one thing during this pandemic. I have learned to be. I'm more creative now than ever, and I
Yes.
think it's partly because of being here. I'm, it's like light bulbs are just popping off right now of different things from a financial standpoint that we can do during this time. So
Yeah, I think that is so well said. So,
yeah,
not only looking at where we do want to spend and increase those savings reserves, but with our wants that we need to do less of, how can we creatively keep them going in a sense? What can we
correct.
do? So, this is a challenge for all of our couples listening. Whatever those wants are, how can you put a creative spin on it so that it doesn't deplete your savings that you're working diligently to build up?
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is good. And then you mentioned something that is so key that we tend to overlook, the impact of shopping for different insurance providers. When you save money, you get a pay raise.
Yes, you do. And it makes you feel so good. I'm telling you. Oh, even before the pandemic happened, we went shopping for auto insurance. We've been with our auto insurance company for several years, and they were priced extremely well. But every year we try. I look at all of our insurance policies, you know, just to see where we are.
Mhm.
And we made a big change this year. We were so loyal to this one company. I'm not going to mention the name, but we were
Okay.
very loyal to them for years until we found an equal company. The premium was less, and we got much more benefit. Here it
Wow.
is. We saved about $1,500 by switching over. And by the way, it wasn't Geico. But we were able to save more than
Wow.
15%.
Now, let me just
With,
ask, any couples out there can use an extra $1,500 right now? You need
I'm
to get on
quite
the
sure so.
phones.
Exactly. All it takes is a phone call, and I mean, and if I've learned this, what's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
what could happen if you pick up that phone and do it? So you got to take action, be practical when it comes to your finances.
Yes. I love that we're talking about this because this is something that my husband and I implemented to free up more money as well. And doing things like disconnecting the home phone and getting rid of cable. You could only imagine these pockets of money that you can free up by shopping around, like your internet provider, um, or just saying, do we really use that? Is it now obsolete?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you look at gym fees, a lot of us, you know, pay $20, $30 a month to go to the gym. I hadn't been to the gym in so long right now. I am in very good shape. I eat healthy. I'm healthy. Going to the doctor, get checked every year. Great, good report. The only thing that I have to do, I have to watch my cholesterol. So I had to change my diet a little bit. But I get my exercise. My regimen is here at home. I have free weights that I work out with. I do my push-ups, my sit-ups. I get on my exercise bike, or I get out and walk or run. So I'm saving, and I'm yet getting the benefit of exercising as well. So just little things like that, like you said, cutting the cable. There's so many streaming services out here that are much cheaper, and some of them are actually free. If you get a smart television, there are a lot of television channels out there that are just basically free. So any way you can cut or look for other creative ways, like I mentioned, being creative. All it takes is a little time, a little research, and you'll be surprised just how much money that you can save and use for something else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I want to just talk to those couples who maybe their way of looking at their finances is checking the balance to see how much left they have to spend versus tracking, how much are we spending in entertainment? How much are we spending in food? What would you say to financial tracking beginners as far as great tools, or easy ways they can really understand where their dollars are going?
There are a number of budgeting tools out there. I'm just going to use my example. The budget worksheets that I actually have it even in my most recent book, but I love to itemize out my line items, be it just say entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And I created a spreadsheet. I got an Excel spreadsheet that I put a lot of hours into to get the calculation and things like that. Mm-hmm. So what I did, I have not only month by month and line item by line item to calculate, but I have down to the quarter, semi-annual, and annual. So I'm able to track my entertainment expenses not only monthly, but I can do it quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Wow. So it really, it's a great feeling when you can see where your money is going. And may that sound so simple, but a lot of times we don't know where our money is going. We get paid and we go and have fun, do what we have to do. And at the end of the month, it's like, oh, wow, we only have this, that left. What do we do?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you begin to put a line item with your spending plan or with your budgeting plan, you can see and track just how good story real quickly. Mm-hmm. About 6 or 7 years ago, we had some good friends that were moving out of state. Her husband got a new job and had to move out of state. And it was around December, around Christmas time. So my wife and I, we've always allocated certain monies for Christmas. Mm-hmm. Well, during that month of December, for some strange reason, we spent almost $700 in going out. Mm-hmm. That was, we had a coming to Jesus meeting, just the both of us, to say, what in the world did we do that we spent that much money in going out? Yeah. Well, because we budget line item by line item, I was able to go back and say, honey, here's where we spent that money. When Gary got ready to leave, we took them out to eat and we paid for it. Then we went to this restaurant. Then we went to this restaurant. Then we went to this restaurant.
Yes.
So we were able to figure out and make adjustments going forward that, hey, we're not going to spend like that ever again. But mm-hmm. also, we're going to be able to see how we're spending our money month by month by month because we yes. put it in line items. So it's very important to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because even if you're creating this spending plan of you want to only spend X amount of dollars on fast food, X amount of dollars on clothes, if you're not tracking it, how do you know where you are until it's too late?
Right.
So this is really key.
Yeah. And make sure you put a target amount that you will not go over. I mean, and be realistic. Don't put, $500 for clothing every month. That's too much money for clothing. And that's me personally.
But somebody said, speak for yourself.
I know if I was in the audience right now, I'm quite sure somebody would have given me a dirty look. But if you can afford it, more power to you. But yeah. I'm just saying, $500 a month allocated for clothing. That's kind of, excessive. I'm just using it as an example. Mm-hmm. When it should be more like $150 a month, because you don't have to buy clothes every month. Some of us do, but the average person, I don't believe, just have to buy clothes every month. But get a realistic number and say, okay, I'm not going to go above 150. Mm-hmm. So anytime I can go under that, hey, I saved $20 because I was under my target amount. So it's very important to have a target for each one of those line items.
Yes, yes. And something that I love, my husband and I will do once we have our target for a certain category. If we do go over on with that category, like you, we meet twice a month.
Right.
So mid-month, we know where we're standing with our goals,
Right.
right? We can draw back on another category if we've gone over on one. So there is some
Correct.
wiggle room there.
Right.
If you are meeting consistently, if you are
Yes.
tracking, and if you have designated certain thresholds of spending for different things
Right.
that you're doing with your family.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
another thing, real quickly,
Uh-huh.
and also because this is sometimes a point of contention in a
Mhm.
relationship. Come to an agreement with an allowance every month or every week. We have a certain amount of money that we both have to spend, my wife and I. And if I overspend, then I have to wait until the next week to get more money. So it's just another way to keep us in balance and making sure that we're not overspending and we are being reasonable and managing our finances well.
Mhm.
So to have an allowance is not a bad thing. I have an allowance, and of course I complain all the time because I don't, for some strange reason, wives have a tendency to have a bigger allowance than the husband, and I'm a finance guy, and I still hadn't discovered why. Maybe you can help me out, Natasha, with that later. Why is it that
You know
why do
what?
you guys have a
You know what I think it is? Oftentimes, we are in relationship with someone who has a different spending pattern, habit,
okay,
or viewpoint than we do. One may
okay,
be more free spirited and
okay,
more of an abundance thinker, and the other one
okay,
may be more conservative and more into planning.
okay, okay, all right, okay,
And
all
you can
right,
see how both coming together is a
yes,
great balance as long as
yes,
you're communicating and
yes,
you're valuing each other's perspectives.
absolutely, absolutely.
Did I answer your question in a roundabout way?
Yes, you did. Hey, we'll talk offline.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So I know we're getting close to the close. And one thing I wanted to share with our audience is just really some inspiration and a charge. At the beginning of the segment, you spoke about, talking about your finances, really working as a team really helps with the quality of your life. And I'm a firm believer in creating generational wealth. Generational wealth. My husband and I, several years ago, became debt free. We paid off our cars, we paid off student loans, our mortgage, and we were able to do that with the debt snowball method of meeting twice a month, like you were saying, Lionel. Of
Yeah.
my husband, now he's more of the planner, the more structured, the more conservative. I'm a
Yeah.
blend, but I'm the more carefree. So he loves
Absolutely.
the Excel sheets. If he were here, he would be lighting up when you're talking about monthly, semi-monthly, quarterly. He would have
Oh
loved it.
yes.
But
Yes.
we looked at what are all of our debts, and that
Mhm.
calls for transparency. It calls for not allowing fear to prevent you from opening that mail, from knowing. A
Right.
great way is looking at your credit report. If
Yeah.
for some time you've just said it's too stressful,
Yeah.
but
Uh
we
huh.
looked
Uh
at
huh.
the smallest debts to the largest and put them in order and tackled
Right.
one debt at a time. First that smallest one, and then going to the larger ones. And I love all of what you said. We really did. We were on the phones getting different quotes for insurance, freeing up money, looking at
Right.
what how could we get a pay raise? Because at the time
Right.
we earned less than 100,000 together.
Uh huh.
So you guys be sure that you are following these techniques because what Lionel is saying is the truth. And I love that in some of your books, you actually have a breakdown of these different steps, a breakdown of these various questions. Because some of us are not all that tech savvy into making Excel do all the things you mentioned. So will you tell folks just about your books that you have? And also you mentioned there's ways they can view things on social media. And before you do that, we did have a person to submit an anonymous question before you share about that. I don't want to forget, this person asked, who should make the final financial decisions? Who should make the final financial decisions? And then we're going to go into all of your great resources.
Oh, I can answer that question right offhand.
Okay.
The man should make the final decision.
I know you were going to say that.
And I am kidding. Do not say that. Ladies, do not go back and get onto your husband. I know I just probably rock your world.
I'm going to go to your website and let you know how to think.
We get a lot of bad email now. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is a very good question. Who should make the final decision with finance? Let me give you something here. There are times, I'm using myself as an example. There are times when my wife makes the final decision or have made the final decision. Point blank. One reason, here, I'm gonna give you a couple things that you must do when we are talking about making a financial decision. The first action is you must come together and discuss the situation or the circumstances. Whatever it is, put everything out on the table. If it's you telling the story and the other person having to listen, make sure you both understand the financial situation. Then you come up with some solutions, both of you. So both parties are involved. So you come up with something that you can do. You may have a little bit more knowledge in one area versus your spouse, but you're both putting the problem on the table and you're coming up with some solutions on the table. Then you want to come to an agreement of what you're going to do. Regardless of where the suggestion came from, you both have to come to an agreement. The reason why I said it in that order is because you are both involved in the process of making a decision that is either going to be beneficial for you in your relationship. That's where the downfall has happened with a lot of couples. Take, for instance, I'm the finance guy. Automatically, people think, well, you should make the financial decision. No. Doesn't work that way. It's important that I involve my wife because good or bad, if we made a mistake, we made a mistake. So it won't be any finger pointing when we're both involved in the process because that happens. The husband assumes, well, look, I'll make the decision here and we're going to do X, Y, Z. And then X, Y, Z cost you a lot of money because it wasn't given a whole lot of thought. You didn't get all the relevant information that you needed. Then the wife is going to be looking like, see, told you.
Yes.
See, so this is why I say both involved in the process. Discuss the problem. Both of you come up with some solutions. Agree on a solution. And granted, you may have more knowledge about it than the other person, but you're both coming to agreement and then you're both going to be satisfied that way. So good or bad, regardless of the outcome, you can both blame yourself or you can say, hey, we did a great job. So it's to prevent that finger pointing. So hopefully that answered the question of who makes the final decision. It just depends upon the situation at hand, but you both must be involved in the process.
I hope you guys are hearing this as you're listening. There shouldn't just be one person who has knowledge about what's going on in your finances as a family, regardless if they're, how we spoke about roles, knowing your roles in the beginning of the segment, regardless if you have someone who has more of a leader role, no one should be blind and everyone's voice should still count. right?
Yes.
You are coming together as one and as a team. So I love just the thought of creating an environment where you can come up with compromises, working in the middle if you see it differently,
Yes.
versus proving who's right and proving who's wrong. We went
Yeah,
through
'cause
that,
that,
didn't we?
yeah, stop doing that. It doesn't work. I've been married for 21 years. It's not beneficial to you. I learned if you work together, oh, it makes life so much more enjoyable. It
Yes,
really does.
yes, it does. Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
And it allows for you to have a really rich legacy, because if you have
yeah.
kids, you have people looking up to you as far as
Yes,
what communication looks like, as far as what managing finances and wealth looks like.
yes,
So this discussion tonight has been so rich. And
yes.
yet I know there is so much more you have to impart, so much
Oh,
more
yes.
guidance you can give our listeners. And from what I know about you, not only do you help couples and families, but you help children also.
Yes, I do.
College students, for example, learn the
Yes.
different lessons they need in money. So definitely let us know about your books and remind us
Okay.
again how folks, they need to reach out to you, how they are going to connect with you.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, really quickly, my first book, Sacred Vows: The Knot of Knot. It's a relationship communication book designed for couples, uh, especially for those that are early married or in a soon-to-be married stage. But it's the great information for married couples. And when I mentioned about the different questions and all, at the end of each chapter, because they hit on those four pillars, family, finance, lifestyle, sex, and intimacy, there are about 20 questions after each one of those chapters that you must answer the questions individually, and then you come together corporately to discuss it. Then that way you're both on the same page of why you think the way you think, and then you can get on the same page of how you're going to function going forward as a couple. So have that book here available. Also, my new book, Money Responsibly, was published back in January, my first finance book. This book was a framework of workshops and seminars that I've done over the years, and it's power packed, especially from a basic understanding of how to utilize money. It goes into different questions behind each chapter as well, talking about financial goals, talking about budgeting, debt management, credit, money saving tips. It also has a great glossary dictionary at the back, and it also has some great spreadsheets for like your debt schedule and your budgeting worksheets. All those available at the end of the book as well. You can get both books on Amazon, or I prefer you to do this if you want autographed copies of the book. If you go to my website at shipmanconsulting.com, you can get autographed copies of the book. You can do that via PayPal, but if you go to my website at shipmanconsulting.com, click on the Contact Us page, submit your request stating that you would like to get autographed copies of the book. Because we're doing the workshop, the summit tonight, I got a little discount that I want to offer. If you buy both books, I will give you 15% off of the books. So just mention that you can can't cancel love. There's a promo, but if you go to the website, mention that you can get 15% off of both books. So that's available tonight.
What an incredible offer. You have already poured out so much tonight. No fluff, actionable steps that can really make a huge difference. So you guys make sure you get Sacred Vows, The Knot or Not, and Money Responsibly at his website. That's shipmanconsulting.com. You better do it now. 15% off. That's a wonderful offer to discount items that we really, really need. So I just want to thank you again, Lionel Shipman, for all of your nuggets that you provided. Again, will you let folks know the name of your show? Isn't it Lionel Shipman, Shape Your Finances?
Yes, the Lionel Shipman Shape Your Finances show.
Okay.
And if you go, like I said, go to my website at shipmanconsulting.com. I have a page dedicated to the show. You can listen to all the past guests that I've had. As a matter of fact, Natasha was on a segment, I think it was last year, we did back-to-back segments titled Couples and Finances. So our moderator, leader for tonight over the summit, she was definitely a guest on the show. So definitely check that out. And like I said, shipmanconsulting.com would kind of give you a layout of who I am, what I do from a speaking standpoint, from a teaching, financial coaching standpoint for college students and high school students, as well as adults, and then for the book as well. So that would be a great way to, as a summary of who I am.
Excellent, excellent. And I would say, you guys don't just get on those radio stations, get those books, get those questions you need to ask your partner today, get those spreadsheets that he's already put sweat and tears into, and you don't have to. Lionel Shipman, thank you again for just pouring out into our couples tonight. I want to encourage you all not to settle, but with intention and from a place of unity and love, overcome your financial fights.